Man, we back and I got some news for y'all right now. I got some news that's coming across the South in this Nolan Ryan case. Now, I was up there. First of all, my people from Mississippi. Now, I'm just visiting. I don't live there. I can't tell y'all no shit about no Mississippi to make y'all say, yup, yup. You know, all the things in the past with the lynchings and things of that nature. Far as I know, my father, who's from Mississippi, never said shit about none of that shit. It was like one time they brought up the story about the historical beating of the friends and the black man, and they even showed us where they dumped the bodies at. That was the only time he talked about. No, yeah, that was the only time he talked about something dealing with racism in Mississippi. To me, now I'm not saying that Mississippi ain't racist. I'm just saying, like, I'm a visitor, so I don't know the whole geographical state of Mississippi. But I do know about this Nolan Ryan case and the facts that's coming out and the things that I've heard. And it's just like, man, did I say Nolan Ryan? That nigga name ain't Nolan Ryan. Nigga name is Nolan. Nolan fucking what the fuck is this nigga name? Nolan or was his name? Well, is that still his name? I mean, damn, how do you say that shit? You know what I'm saying? Nolan Wells. His name was Nolan Wells or whatever. You know what would be funny though? I guess it's all about your algorithm or whatever. Certain nigga, certain shit don't show up. You know what I'm saying? And like certain people that you follow about topics that you figure they would be speaking on, um, they ain't talking about it. Nolan Wells, yes, Nolan Wells. All right, so I'm going to go into this again. I don't care who listening, but I'm gonna go into it again about the Nolan Wells story. If you know, you know. If you don't know, um, the actual audio of when the boat. Okay, first of all, if you don't know, Nolan Wells was a young, charismatic black man who played sports and was very good at it, especially football. And he lived in this predominantly or somewhat predominantly white area in Mississippi. And so, probably like kids before them, they all go out to this island and get drunk and smoke weed or whatever. And I'm just going to talk about what people aren't saying. So, he died, and everybody's trying to figure out why he died. And here's what I look at. The rest of that shit, you're gonna have to go and look for yourself to keep up with the story. Because whenever I drop this, I don't know what new shit might be coming out or what real. I try to get the best facts I can get and then deliver it to the people. So he's he's black and he's supposed to be with these white friends. They're supposed to be best friends, but there's so many doubts and issues in the story where it's kind of like somebody got it ain't kind of somebody fucking lying. And that's what kids do. Kids do be fucking lying sometimes. It's very rare that you find a kid, especially teenagers, they never lying. Like they never fucking lying. And then, in the South or anywhere, kids get alcohol. I was drinking alcohol way before I became 21 legal. So a bunch of kids going out to this island has to be the norm in Mississippi because it wasn't no parents there. From my understanding, these are all just a bunch of kids going to get drunk from all types, and it was hundreds of them, all types of ages. They go out to this island and they get blitzed, have fun, might have sex, and then they come back on the boats that they had out there. So just think about that. Like that many damn people you live around got boats to go out to this island. Ain't none of my niggas had a boat. Ain't none of my niggas had a boat. But they go out there to this island. So this is the norm. And it's just America is seeing it now. But I mean, realistically, this is the norm. This is how they have fun. This is what they do. So it's like, okay, they went and got blitzed. They had some beers. It's the South. That's all I noticed when I went down there. Some niggas is drinking beers and smoking weed when they kick it. Cause they ain't like a lot of shit to do. So this is what they do. They're adventurous. They outside. So yeah. So anyway, he goes out there. Something happens. This boy dies. Now, a lot of things from the initial call. There was a call saying, and these are just the things I want to point out in my little time. This is what I ain't understanding. I ain't understanding a teenager without their phone. In this day and age, I ain't understanding a motherfucker without their cell phone unless they at home. It's just too much of the culture right now of having your damn phone. I remember a time before cell phones, but I'm telling you right now, it's on and popping. Even Granny got a goddamn cell phone. So what I ain't understanding is this, and these are the facts that came out. I'm not understanding how you leave your boy behind. Your best friend. The title was best friend. I don't know how you leave your best friend behind on an island, miles away from where you come from. And it's just like, he'll find a way. Not my best friend. Because unless the new age has said best friends by another definition, they treated that nigga like a stranger or somebody they don't care about. Now that's the first fact. And then his phone is on the boat. So his phone is on the boat and they leave. Now, yes, if you high and drunk, you ain't thinking about, damn, do we got his phone? But once you got back, and like they reported, cleaning out the boat, well, you got his phone. So you know he ain't got his phone. You don't know if your boy got back yet from the island, and he ain't got his phone. So what was the time frame of tracking your boy down to give him his phone that's in your possession? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it step by step. I'm gonna leave my boy. If I didn't know he didn't have his phone when I came back, once I got back, because they say they saw them cleaning out that boat, cleaning the boat, cleaning out the boat. Anywhere it go, from that time to my boy, and I don't know my best friend. I don't know if my best friend got back yet. Hours after. Because he sure didn't come get his phone. Because a family member had to come get his phone. No, a family member had to track the kid to get his phone. All my questions is, how come, if that's my best friend, I didn't go holler at his mama and say, hey, your phone situation, we left him at the island, did he get back? Because I ain't talked to nobody in my circle as far as friends to say, hey, did Nolan get back, y'all? I ain't call his mama and daddy and say, Mr. Wells, Mrs. Wells, did Nolan get back? Because he left his phone and his car at my house. So those two things that my homie, my best friend, he ain't got back yet, and I ain't heard from him. I'm not going to put it on them. I'm just saying actions and ways of people that I fuck with. I'm going to make sure, even if I'm going to make sure, okay, you ain't going to come back with us. You want to holler at the hoes or whatever. That's cool. But I'm going to know when my homie get back. And then I'm going to be on 10 because the homie I ain't got no way to get in touch with the homie. So what I'm asking here, Big Bang, is who's making calls around from the best friend clique, calling other people to see if Nolan got back once the sun started going down, or when you started seeing people leave the island and come back, because these is kids now. We was all partying together, and you mean from that point, from that party point at the island, afterwards nobody was linking, nobody was on the net, nobody was on the net, the social media, nobody was talking, and then nobody was reaching out to find Nolan from the homie clique. Like, he probably came back with such and such. Okay, but he hasn't arrived at my house. I got his phone. See, that whole nonchalant of I don't care, he'll pop up sometime. I got a problem with that, and that's my best friend. So now, with that being said, let's go into now the phone call to the marina because the boat is going down and it's sinking. So yes, I believe that black woman broke that shit down and everything is true that you heard. Because what my first point was, not speaking on the 911 call for the tow. I'm speaking on issues that could have occurred or had occurred or should have occurred in the first state of the boat, Nolan, and best friends, and the Katie girl, the hoes. Okay, and then them departing the island. So now we got 911 caller calling in. They calling for a tow. They call for a tow. You hear background. They speaking on Nolan. They speaking on his nickname. No is what they call him. And they saying, is he dead? And beat on his chest. This is factual. The thing that caught my attention later was when she addressed to them, how many, is there any children on the boat? No. Are there any adults on the boat? No. How many people on the boat? 7. And then at that point, it was kind of like, you gonna say, is there all the people breathing? And I think she said that. I think she said that for 2 reasons. The first reason I want to say is that she looking like, nigga, I just said adults and you telling me ain't no adults on the boat. Well, nigga, how old is you? So let me make this basic and say niggas breathing. So now your mind can't go to nowhere stupid with this question. So then he could say, oh, it's 7 people breathing. Because he was being so literal, which also means that he was watching what he was saying, or somebody was telling him to watch what he was saying. Then the other one could be she's hearing some shit. And she like, is everybody breathing on that boat? Because it sounds like something more than what you're telling me, young man. Now that's the second part. Now here's the problem I got. He say they taking on water, they sinking, they need somebody to get out there. The 911 operator hangs up from him, contacts the marina and the special team people, whatever their name, whatever they call, the heroes, we'll call them for right now, the 911 heroes. She contacts him and says, hey, it's a boat out there, kids out there, they need a tow with 7 people, yada, yada. He said, describe the boat. The boat is this. He said, I just got off the phone with the grandfather, and the grandfather is saying they don't need a tow. So let's get that understood right now. What possibly happened in that moment where the young people called, either the grandfather spoke to him directly or maybe the grandmother, and she directed the boy to call the tow people. And then the grandfather found out when she said, but how did the grandfather from where he's at, nowhere around, saying to the marina people, because it was kind of like, well, damn, he called the son or whatever, called the 911 person for the tow. But when did the grandfather get involved in this whole communication about the tow? And the person, the I can't think of these guys, but the people that actually come out there, he's telling him that they don't need a tow. So in that conversation of this young boy called the operator to get the tow thing to go, how did those two people connect, the grandfather and the marine people that I guess do the tow, or the guards? How did that conversation go? And then how does the grandfather know that they no longer need a tow when this kid is saying, like, man, we sinking right now? There was calls placed to multiple people, but what made that young man, if he talked to his grandfather first, which you might assume, why did he still call the 911 people if his grandfather's saying? Because if he would have called his grandfather first, basically, and said, hey, man, hey, this shit flooding over here. Why did he hang up from whatever his grandfather's saying? If he talked to him, who owns the boat, and say, fuck that, I'm calling 911. And then the grandfather overrides the 911 call by calling the marine people themselves and saying they don't need no tow, don't go out there. But they still got towed. What happened between the grandfather, the people directly on the boat, the kids, and then that person? I want to know, is something in that mix too? Is something there? Then, with all that being said, how did this nigga end up on the island in the same spot with hundreds of people around? Hundreds. They say it was over 300 people around. How did he end up in the same spot? Because for him to end up in the same spot, that means that the ocean was calm. I mean, I don't even think he was in the water. I think they let it. My only problem is that when they left, did they come back and drop the nigga body off? After everybody left. Cause just imagine you party and you see a nigga on the ground. You see a nigga on the ground at the island, and you just like, oh, that nigga fucked up. He drunk. Oh, he passed out. Is that what happened? People saw this nigga body on the ground. These is kids too now. They saw this nigga on the ground, this human being on the ground. Nobody grabbed his hand and said, come on, man, wake up. Nobody said, hey, man. So the body, I just can't believe in that amount of water, a nigga fall off the boat and then wash back up in the same exact spot. Now, mind you, they also said the back of the head, which the first examiner did not say. It was mushed up. It was bowed. But the audio suggested that nigga was on the boat when the best so-called best friend did the 911. And then we go into Mississippi. The police get to the body 2 days later, and they saying no foul play. Well, basically no evidence. Nothing was done yet, no foul play. So my thing is, are we dealing with a huge conspiracy amongst Mississippians? Is that what's going on here? Because if so, it's going to be a lot of white people going to jail, which I in my lifetime have never seen unless they was in like a motorcycle gang. It's a lot of people going to go to jail, and they all going to be white. It's a lot of kids that know what happened, and they just ain't saying it because they scared and they don't want to smoke. And they don't want whatever's in Mississippi water to come to their house. And then you got all these kids still trying to live by the don't snitch code. That girl Katie invited the mama in the home and told her this is what happened. I'm telling you flat out what's happening. The best friends ain't did that. They had a hard time getting the keys and the phone from the best friends. They was in the house chilling. Now, when I saw the story, it was the dad that went over there. And it was just like they was so nonchalant and didn't care about handing over the phone and the keys to their best friend. Mind you, this is days after. They still haven't found the nigga yet. And my best friends ain't, oh, here goes his phone, here goes his keys. Come on, here. Let me be more helpful to you. Let me come over. Let's help it together. Where you want us to go? What you want us to do? But they like, I ain't never been over the nigga house. I know he ain't staying somewhere that bad where he ashamed that for his white friends to see where he stay. All the pictures and movie flicks that you see on the internet about that boy wasn't built like that. He was open. That boy was an open book. He was an open book. TikTok dances, he's an open book. They know what happened with Nolan. Period. They know what happened with Nolan. More kids know what happened with Nolan. They if kids ain't saying they saw him laying on the beach, then they brought the body back after they dropped it off. Because on the audio, you clearly know that Nolan was on the boat during the 911 call. You know Nolan was on the boat, and Nolan possibly died on the boat. So when did his body get back? When did they bring the body back? Because I'm not believing your body go out into the water and the tide bring you to the exact same spot of the island. Not on the other side of the island, not on, not further, that not found floating in the ocean, washed upon the shores of the same spot where he was last at. And white privilege and all that other shit is coming into play right now. That's it. Only thing is how did he die? But he died while everybody was partying. That's a fact. While all those kids was out there, he died then. It's about him being in the water and getting on that beach. Who did that? Who transported the body back? Because I just can't see scared teenagers, drunk as high as they is, drop the nigga on the sand. Jumped out of the boat that was sinking into the water and then dragged him onto the land and dropped his body right there. And not one kid with a soul said that was usual, that's okay, and got in the boat and went, and nobody said nothing. I think they drove that. I think it was they left. One of the people that probably rescued told him if he even got on the boat or seen what was happening and said, "What's wrong with your boy?" He said sleep. Or they covered the body up and then they brought that boy back out there. Some way, somehow, if not in the same boat, and dropped that nigga off. Because he was so heavy, they drug him through the water to make it look like he drowned. And they dropped that nigga off there. And they left again. I think you had a lot of people that cared about their kids and trying not to have their kids go to jail. Include themselves. So you had the police department, the medical examiner, the grandpa, the parents. It's a lot of people involved. It's just that the shit was on their ass because what about the car? What about the phone? Being in my possession and in the streets is all saying they looking for this nigga. And we not looking for him. It's gonna come out, man. I pray Nolan Wells family they get the answers and the truth, and I pray that everybody involved in this cover up go to jail. This Big Bang Radio, man. It's one of those days, man. Peace.